So, what do we mean by teratogenicity? Now, it's a very common term that we have been hearing from our 11-12 days, and we have been studying about how teratogens are monster creating agents. That is, anything which is given to the pregnant mother is going to result into abnormalities of a fetus, which would be so deformed that it would look like a monster. So, teratogenicity is nothing but the ability of a drug which, if given during pregnancy, has the potential to cause fetal abnormalities. It's a very interesting phenomena, and we do not really understand what is the exact mechanism related to teratogenicity. How is it that drugs are able to cause such adverse effects in the fetus? And from adverse effects, we should know that teratogenicity, actually, like carcinogenicity, it belongs to type D adverse effect. When we're studying about adverse effects, we say there is type A, B, C, D, E, F also, and delayed because the teratogen, even carcinogenicity, delayed kind of adverse drug effect, where you give the drug and even after stopping of the drug the effect continues. Or maybe say you gave a drug long ago and then after years or months you get to know that cancer has developed. So it's a type D kind of adverse drug effect, and of course it's an adverse drug effect which affects pregnant females. So why does teratogenicity occur? We don't exactly know, but what we should know is that the placental membrane is an incomplete barrier, and that embryos are biologically diverse and dynamic systems. Why do we call them dynamic biological systems? Because a lot of organogenesis is occurring, a lot of organs are being formed from a zygote, which is a single celled organism. There is transformation to this entire human baby. That means there is a lot going on in the fetus. That is why we have called them dynamic biological systems, which is obvious when we study about embryology. And the placental membrane, we know, is not a complete barrier. So most of the drugs which you will give to the mother will ultimately end up coming into the fetal circulation. Now the problem arises when these drugs have an effect on the fetus. Like if you talk about heparin, that can't cross the placental membrane, but most drugs actually can cross the placental membrane, and they can have huge effects on the fetus. The classical example of teratogen, the first teratogen which was probably discovered and through which we know the concept of teratogenicity, is thalidomide. And there is an entire story as to how we got to know that thalidomide is a teratogen. There are so many mothers who started giving rise to babies who had phocomelia, and phocomelia is not really a common disorder. It's a very rare disorder, and a connection was established that thalidomide was actually what was responsible for causing phocomelia. So just to give a review, phocomelia is a disorder where you'll find the babies having their limbs directly arising from either the shoulder or the pelvis. So this is what a baby who actually has phocomelia is going to look like. That means the limbs are directly arising from the shoulder and the pelvis. Why is it known as phocomelia? Because phoca is equal to seal, and because if you have seen the seal, the flippers of the seal directly arise from the body, and because the appearance of the baby is similar, that is why we say that this disease, we have named this disease as phocomelia. Someone who has phocomelia is Nick Vujicic, who is actually a very inspirational personality. Now, what are other drugs which have teratogenic potential? Thalidomide is a very common and a very important example. What makes this important is because it is very common. Everyone is supposed to know at least about thalidomide, but there are many other drugs which can have many other teratogenic effects. So to quote a few examples, we have valproate, we have NSAIDs, that is aspirin, indomethacin, we have alcohol, we have ACE inhibitors, we have lithium and anti-thyroid drugs, we have tetracyclines, and we also we have alcohol. So coming to valproate, that is responsible for causing spina bifida. It's a very common observation actually that there are neural tube defects. Spina bifida is a neural tube defect, and we can actually prevent this by giving folate therapy. So You must have come across a very common statement that neurotubular effects are common teratogenic effects. Likewise, NSAIDs, aspirin, iodomethacin, anti-inflammatory agents, these tend to cause a premature closure of ductus arteriosus. Now we could go to anatomy and see what ductus arteriosus is, but it's more of an embryogenic topic. But just to know, ductus arteriosus is what connects the pulmonary artery to the aorta, bypassing the lungs, because obviously the fetal lungs are not developed, the fetal liver is not developed. The fetus obviously does not rely on lungs for oxygenation, it relies on the mother, and that is why we have the role of the placental membrane here. Alcohol, of course, is definitely contraindicated in pregnancy. No one should take alcohol in pregnancy because it will result into a low IQ baby, or might be other effects as well. Likewise, ACH inhibitors cause hypoplasia of organs. What are the organs which are primarily affected? We have the kidney and the lungs. Lithium and antithyroid drugs. So antithyroid drugs, if you give to a mother, it should have been decreasing the thyroid effects in the mother. But what happens is it comes to the fetus and it causes fetal goiter. Tetracyclines, their most common side effect is teeth malformation. The same happens to the fetus as well. So the main teratogen that we should be aware of is thalidomide, and other are valproate, NSAIDs, alcohol, AC inhibitors, lithium or anti-thyroid, tetracycline. There are various other drugs which do have teratogenic potential, but one thing that we should remember about teratogens is that just because you are giving a teratogen to someone does not equate to 100% occurrence of some kind of teratogenic abnormality. The reason being that most of the drugs which sometimes we have to give to mothers, we do not have any other choice, but we do have to somehow discard their teratogenic potential. We have to take the risk and we have to give certain drugs to mothers. Now in those cases, most of those drugs are actually third grade teratogens, but still we risk giving them. And it's not that if we give a teratogen, there will be 100% occurrence of an abnormal baby being born. A baby who is abnormal might be born, might not be born. Of course, there is a risk, and we do not exactly know what the mechanisms are. But just because a mother received a teratogen does not mean that she will develop an abnormal baby. So in summary, what we should know about teratogenicity and teratogens is that these are drugs which, when given to the mother when she is pregnant, is going to lead to fetal abnormalities. It belongs to type D kind of adverse drug effect. If you go and study adverse drug effects in detail, you will find there are many types. And what exactly causes teratogenicity is not known. But the reason why drugs are able to cross and enter the fetal circulation is because the fetal membrane is not a complete barrier, and because embryos are highly dynamic biological system, there is a lot going on in the embryo which we can study in embryology. The most common example is thalidomide, which causes phocomelia, and there are many other examples like valproate, NSAIDs, alcohol, AC inhibitors, lithium antithyroid, tetracyclines. And of course, just giving a teratogen will not lead to the baby being abnormal. Certain other things that we should know about teratogenicity is these are very basic points which one can think upon and come to the conclusion. One of them is an example of androgens or progestins, which if we give to the mother, that will lead to virilization. Now, people, or basically females who have virilism, these have XX chromosomes. So these are genetically females, but because of the influence of these hormones from the maternal circulation entering the fetus, they tend to develop secondary male characteristics. That is what is known as virilization. And what determines as to whether or not the drug will definitely end up being teratogenic, if the maternal concentration of the drug is high, that is, the mother has taken the drug in a very high concentration, consequently higher plasma concentration or blood levels are high, that means the fetal exposure would be more. Likewise, if the drug remains in the circulation for a longer time, again the fetal concentration would be more. So this is all about teratogenicity.